Hello, campers. You're watching and listening to the Loose Gadgies, not the Midnight Gadgies. Not this time. It was kind of funny watching that back, but I was laughing at myself rather than with myself. But I think both are valid, right? So this week, we're going to touch on I don't know. I suppose I find some of it difficult to talk about as well, but wars. In this case, Ukraine. A little bit on leadership, truths, what there is of them, propagandas, controversies, conflicts, all of that, and try and dig into what can we take away from it, other than stuff we see on the news. So perspectives. So Mark, what is, as I often say, the crack?
The crack is, well, so my first bit for today is have to do a little, after last week's episode where you got me highly agitated over the fact that you refused to take my compliments, and you talking about something about this crutch of your ADHD, you know, blah 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 blah. And
I don't have a crutch.
Yeah,
We're have to discuss.
Look at him, he's there.
We're going to have to discuss that later, because I'm not happy with you thinking of it as a crutch, and I'm interested to know why you think it is.
Well, so the bit that I was trying to get to was, in my opinion, Simon got me so frustrated that I decided to start swearing last week. A little bit too much for my mother's liking. So here's my two-faced apology. Two-faced apology 1 goes to my mother. Very sorry for swearing. Second-faced apology goes to Simon because I used the word crotch.
Crotch would have been fine.
See, there you have the opportunity to say that one word, which is now 2 words.
All right. I didn't see it as an apology. Thanks. It didn't really register. All I was thinking was your mum was saying, I was saying to your mum that, oh, well, you should wash his mouth out with soap and water.
That's it.
That's what your mum used to say. Well, wash your mouth out. Pack it in.
So, and my first question is, does war ultimately come down to an individual?
Ooh. Do you know, you could undoubtedly go back a couple of big ones and go, yeah, somebody made a decision. There was a dickhead involved in it. I mean, there is this time, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got a bit of a... I'm underselling it somewhat. Somebody's got a bee in their bonnet. See, I want that stuff back.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen some of the maps? They've already reprinted some of their maps.
Have they?
With the land that they expect to have by the time they're finished. So you've got their official map printers say, right, can you include all... This is all ours now. This bit. It isn't. It isn't. Totally. It will be. It will be. So crack on.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about... Second World War was the same? That all centred around one guy who was perhaps a very good orator. You know, he's a good speaker. Good way he knew how to get his ideas across and get other people to gradually believe him. So he's a bit of a manipulator. Perhaps they both are.
Yeah.
Kim Jong, he's the same.
Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un, aye. I mean, do you know that when he walks down the street, people literally are expected to drop to their knees and start crying, or they get, carried away. Aye?
Yeah. I was going to take that in a totally different direction, but yeah, I have to be careful.
Interestingly, though,
Mum's listening.
It looks like Russia's becoming China's resource. I was going to say another word there, but basically that because he's begging for some help, without looking like he's begging, China's like, they've got loads of stuff in there. If I can have all your stuff, we'll help you out.
I just saw China in a fantastic position over this, don't you think?
Oh yeah, they've not really said much, But then Putin's like, yeah, I've got some stuff. I'm running out of stuff. Tell you what, you give us all of that and we'll help you out. He's, no. Fine. You're the one that's in trouble, not us. Come back when you're ready to talk.
I'll tell you what.
They're just going to be a resource for them.
I'll hold on to these two regions in the east, and if you support me in saying this is the new map, as you said, it's new. When we sort the bother out, you can start drilling here.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what China's done? You know, Manchuria, just off to the
Manchester,
the Far East, off to the Far East of Russia. There's a bit there that used to be China's, and all of China's maps have for quite some time had the Russian names of all the places on there. They've recently changed that and announced that all future maps should use the Chinese names for those places when those maps are printed. Interesting. It's an interesting play, isn't it?
Now, I come up with. I was sort of thinking back in history about political people that were struggling, and so I believe Putin's struggling in terms of Russia at the moment. You know, it's perceived by his own people that his power's waning. Now, go back in history. So I go back to the Falklands War. The Falklands War, Margaret Thatcher, coming to the end of her first term, was going to get thrown out. Did a really decent job in terms of the conflict in the Falklands and got a second term.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't hesitate. She went, right, you're going down then, you're going to kick some ass.
So war and victory, and of course then you get into your TV networks about how they perceive victory, can help to enforce yourself.
So, almost like... see, I've heard this kind of talk before, that war becomes like a propaganda engine, a tool to distract people from... It's a bit like it's used as a marketing tool. You know, marketing being the tool of the devil, obviously.
Yeah.
In convincing you to do things and to sell a certain way, which is what the BBC's been criticised for a lot lately, is you're always taking this slant on those arguments. No, we're impartial. You're not.
Yeah.
You are definitely not.
So you've got problems
definitely not.
You've got problems with your...
watching it.
You're right. If you've got problems with your economy, your infrastructure, your building, go to war, because all of that gets masked by the fact that the people are just watching what's going on.
Yeah, and then the other stories, they can say, oh, we'll definitely print the other stories. Yeah, but they're on page 32 of a 64-page newspaper. So they're just sort of buried in a segment somewhere. Or maybe they're one of 50 pages you've just published on the website, 50 articles, and it's buried there somewhere. So they definitely printed it, and it's definitely out in public. But all these other things are so noisy, no one notices. That definitely happens. I mean, you've even seen WhatsApps from the government leaked on saying, oh, this would be a good time to publish that other thing whilst this noise is going on.
Oh, what was that? That was the famous 9/11 quote, wasn't it?
Yes.
Any
that's
bad
the one
news, get it out today.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
Because it won't even touch the sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was an English politician, and actually got damned for it. But he's factually right that, you know, anything you put out.
It's what goes on in it.
Yeah, you know, and of course,
we should be under no illusion.
Me and you have a pet hate about the news in general, and I just think there's no truth anymore. It's just news, and it's whatever, you know. When you get into CNN and ABC, which political party are you on, and there's nothing positive about the news. So today, there has to be, because of law of averages, there has to be 50% good news and 50% bad news or news, but we don't talk about the good news because it just doesn't get viewers, does it? It doesn't get any viewers.
Do you know, this is something we said, I think, was it in our first episode? Or is it, you never see the fun stuff, do you? It's always everything that's wrong with something. And you might occasionally get a story about a cat up a tree at the end, just to
Yeah.
Sort of put put some sprinkles on the news at the end, but you don't actually get a good news broadcast or a balance of this stuff's not going right at the minute, but this stuff is. I honestly can't. I don't think I can put my finger on something that any government has done right in however many years. I can't go, oh well, they did this. There's loads of policies because my neighbour works in government. He was telling me about there's one thing you won't see is all the work that we're doing on antibiotics, and he's in a project across multiple countries to create 2 or 3 new antibiotics, and they will be ring fenced so that the way that they're doled out is governed. You were saying about the news, you can't trust the news. I've been watching a few of these Ukraine-based podcasts, or people who have changed from one thing to being about Ukraine and whatnot. And what they've started using is a website called ground.news. It's the name of the website. It's the URL for the website, ground.news. And what it does is any news article, you can click on any news article, and down the side it'll show you the bias distribution between left, centre and right. So you can see the spectrum. You can see which newspapers are left, centre and right. You can see the same article about the same subject across multiple newspapers all on the same page. And what I found striking was you can read it in the title, the difference where they are politically and how they phrase one topic. There can be 5 ways of saying this one thing. I'm like, well, now I don't. Right? So that means they're actually trying to tell me what to think of this rather than in a very neutral way. I know you don't like the word neutral. In a very neutral way. Or a very impartial way saying, here are some facts. What do you reckon? They're actually trying to tell you. And this is why people buy different newspapers. Oh, well, this one thinks more like me. That one thinks more like me. Well, then is it news?
Yeah.
Is it news? If they're putting a cross opinion? Because it's essentially what they're doing. And that's what it's like in the States, where their news is regulated entirely different to ours, and they're allowed opinion-based channels. They've got loads of just opinion-based news, left, right, centre, whatever you like. It's just free for all over there. More truly free speech.
I'd rather see the news about 2 Geordie legends who have created a podcast and are really enlightening people's lives.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Don't know. Let's see if we can find them.
Nah, I'll do a search on YouTube.
Let's go through a couple of. You probably got some stuff. I've got a couple of interesting stats here, or interesting phrases about, Russia versus Ukraine. So, Ukraine requested to join NATO, which means NATO is moving east against the agreement of Russia. So, hence why he's a little bit miffed off.
But is it because he'd always planned to try and take that place back anyway, and thought, well, if he jumps in, then actually I've got to either jump in with them all or not. So I best get in now before they decide to join, so I can smash them to bits without them being able to join in. Because as we've shown, as soon as the West piled a whole bunch of weapons into Ukraine, he's losing badly. So he knows that in a war, in an actual war, without nuclear weapons, he'd be on his arse.
Could you say that Putin didn't have a choice? Otherwise, he was going to lose out Ukraine anyway.
We've discussed this. There is always a choice. He could choose to not want the country in the first place and to leave them as an independent sovereign nation.
Which
have you seen how big Russia is? I mean, how much more do you want? He's like Eric Cartman, on South Park. He wants everything.
Internally, though, that would be seen as weakness internally in Russia, wouldn't it?
But that's his own fault as well, because of the image that he's projected of himself as this man of power. Mind you, he could have spun it and went, do you know what? Why the hell would I want that place? We don't want to bring them into this country. They'll probably bring us down. So he could have used a whole bunch of rhetoric to not need to invade the place. And said, do you know what? We don't want them. We're doing great. In fact, They would make us worse if we went in there and took that place over, which we could. We could absolutely smash them, obviously. Look at the size of our army and all the tanks we've got. Thousands of them would be mint. But we don't need them. Not only do we not need them, we shouldn't have them because they'd be like an infection. You could come up with all kinds of phrases like that and actually turn it if you wanted it to. So he had plenty of choices, and that's the one he picked.
Yeah.
Probably the worst of the bunch. So he could have made it sound like invading's not just something I'm not going to do. It's something we actually shouldn't do. We shouldn't do. We don't need that.
I love that.
We'll cut them off.
I love the fact that we're finding here some, because we love logic.
Yeah.
And as I was looking, I found some logic which sort of helps me to feel a bit more comfortable about a subject. So, the issue about invading Crimea. So Russian ports are frozen 6 months of the year. Is it called Sevastopol?
Sevastopol, yeah.
Yeah. So that port is open all year. Now, if Russia could get their hands on that, they could supply their own country year in, year out without having this issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another logic of why you need something. Imagine your people are starving because the population has increased and you can't feed them. So what you've got to do something.
So you're saying that doesn't matter what the war is about, how it started, or how it appeared to start, or where it is, you can never rule out the idea that it's in some way driven by resource management, or a capturing of resource, or managing, or channel, or where that resource goes to, who gets to use it, where it gets channeled to, who gets to make money from it.
Exactly. You look at, we keep going back to boxing. Boxing just coming at my head there. So the biggest fights in the world are now done in the Far East because that's where the money is, where oil is. So with oil comes power, comes money, comes the ability to
Everything else.
influence. Yeah. So you're right. If you've got what we need, you hold power.
It's also a different boxing commission as well because, what do you call him? That kid's son. What's that famous boxer man? He's been done for
Nigel
doping
Benn.
twice.
Yeah, Conor Benn.
Now Conor Benn. Now he can box abroad, but he can't box in the UK because he's currently suspended. And there's been a massive debate about all that and the power that they have, that he can just wander abroad and go there and box anyway and box for the money and do whatever he wants. It's, well, yeah, but that's the freedom that they've kind of both earned and bought, I suppose, over there. And maybe there's...
Well,
I always feel like there's a certain amount of resentment for the success that they've managed to have as a result of oil.
Well, yeah, and what? So the guys started drilling in the Far East and they found this substance, and now they're rich. That's fair enough. But then all of a sudden we realise, I do these little trips. Coal industry. We don't have any coal industry in Wales and the northeast.
No.
So we've lost out in terms of jobs. Prosperity, etc. And then you get back down to it. We need this stuff. So how are we going to get it? Well, we're going to invade a country, and we're going to take it.
Oh, if you're not going to produce it yourself, as a country, we're basically a service industry, right? Yeah. These days, we don't have manufacturing or any kind of exploratory stuff, or we don't dig for anything anymore. We don't mine anything. We don't produce anything like that. Mm. We don't produce a lot apart from in the financial sector and the tech sector, perhaps. We're doing well in AI and that kind of thing, but we don't make material things anymore. And we were one of the best at it. In fact, we kicked off the Industrial Revolution and those creating steam engines and all of that, and that's gone. That's gone. But we always piggyback with the US when they go in and say, there's a bell end over there. We're going to tell them there's a bell end, and then we're going to tell them we're going to sort them out. Are you in? Yeah, we're in.
I got we're in. Some of the other stuff I got, which I found fascinating, because I was telling you beforehand. For some reason, I got it in my head. I wanted a malted drink. I want to go back to my younger years, and what is it called, Ovaltine and stuff like that, Horlicks.
Yeah, I've never tried it.
Yeah, and I just got this sudden urge. So I went to Asda. Shelf was empty. Went to Marx's. Shelf was empty, and I was like, "Oh, this is bizarre." Anyway, I ordered some because these drinks come from what's called malted barley,
Yeah.
It's a powder.
Yeah.
And then I found when I was getting ready for this, Ukraine produces 12% of the global wheat, 16% of global corn, and 18% of global barley. 90
Global.
global. So
That's massive.
now we know why this country is so attractive to certain individuals. It's power.
Food.
Food is power.
Yeah, because the third world countries, rather, the third world nations, or what we call third world nations. I think it sounds awful saying that, but they rely on stuff coming out of Odessa. So what did Putin do? Took over Odessa and then blocked all the ships.
Yeah.
Now they're all starving. All of these supply chains have broken down. You've got to start all that stuff back up, and that takes ages.
Yeah.
I know they've taken all that stuff back, pretty much. But
Yeah.
you're right. You cannot rule out that
No.
that hold on a resource, can you? They also are exploring lithium. What are all our rechargeable batteries made out of?
Ugh.
Lithium. The Chinese and the Australians wanted to do exploratory digs over there because they have noticeable deposits. And what are we going to need loads of? 2030, banning cars, petrol cars, or rather combustion engine cars. What are we going to need loads of? And what are we going to need loads of to store all the electricity from all of these wind turbines and God knows what else, to try and store it for when the wind doesn't blow, so we don't have to always use gas as a backup, or until we build nuclear power stations or whatever. We're going to need batteries upon batteries upon batteries. So they want to dig a massive hole in Ukraine, so it's got this untapped resource, because it's not currently part of the lithium market, but it could be, and China wants it.
So just in terms of war, and I have to say I'm a big war fan in terms of movies. Love war films. I
love an action movie, and
the glorification of war, and kids are dying.
Desensitization, do you think?
Well,
like with games and videos and movies, all that kind of stuff that we like. For example, in a TV show, right? Someone gets shot, they fall to the ground, they're dead. That's not actually how it happens in real life, is it? Unless you shoot them in the head.
No.
But as soon as you see a policeman, he's running around the corner chasing the bad guy, he shoots him. Oh, there's one down. Yeah. One bullet? No, he'd be writhing around on the ground for ages, gradually bleeding out. That's what would actually happen in real life. But no, it's made to look easy. Although in the A-Team,
yeah,
only one person ever got shot, and that was Murdoch.
Was it? Ain't got no plane.
Well, if you notice, they're always shooting, but only things get hit, not people.
Yeah.
Because it was a family show.
It was fascinating. But just on the I watched the remake, which was nominated for a lot of Oscars, of All Quiet on the Western Front, and I watched it because it was made. It's a German-made film with English subtitles. You can get it in English version, but I decided to watch it in German, and it was fascinating. And what it was basically getting at was the 1914 to 1918 war from a German perspective, and the glorification.
The First World War.
Yeah, the glorification and sending young boys to their death. They're thinking they're going to be heroes, and as you say, they just bled out, screaming, and what a waste of life, And the other one that I found fascinating was Vietnam, basically
the war that shall not be named, the one that they don't like to talk about.
Yeah, and
because they lost.
You get into what they still had. What's the word? Conscripts.
Mm-hmm.
So average age. There's a famous song out there, isn't it? The average age of a Vietnam is 19.
19, yeah.
19, and
yeah,
and then one of my greatest sporting icons, Ali, who refused to go, using words like, "I'm not going over there to fight people that I don't even know. They haven't done anything to me."
That's what he said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, there's posters going up. Your country needs you.
Yeah.
Fight for your flag. Be a hero. Ooh. So propaganda is on both sides, right? We always see propaganda as like a negative video put out by the enemy to make us look bad. Yeah, but you're also putting it out to your people to make you look awesome, to get people to join up, and
how much do we look after them when they come back from war in any country?
oh, that bugs the living hell out of me.
Yeah, you put it.
Bugs the living hell out of me.
I watched an interview with Simon Sinek yesterday, the CEO podcast, and I watched Simon Sinek cry when he described he went to Afghanistan for 48 hours, and he came back. There was him and only a coffin on the flight coming back, and these boys putting that life on the line for service, and it just because I have to say I've become very self. I'm not about except when I was working with you guys, it was always about we, but now it's just about me. I ain't going to volunteer and go and shoot some Russian guy who hasn't done anything to me, stick me bayonet through the top of his head and he's got wife and kids. I ain't going to do that.
Yeah, they're all people at the end of the day. There's none of them monsters or...
No, you just look. Yeah. You talked about it before in a really good way. You sort of mentioned that. Okay, I'm a Russian. I've been told to go to war, and I don't want to go. What's going to happen to me? Bop, straight in the top of your head. Desertion.
Yeah. There's so many of them have left the country, and they have the law over there says when you're conscripted, you have to be physically handed. Like when you've been subpoenaed. You have to be physically handed when someone's suing. You have to physically hand the document to someone and say, "Is your name so and so?" "Yes, it is." Place it in their hand. Now, if you're absent when that piece of paper arrives, by law you haven't received it and you haven't been conscripted. So the best thing to do, leave the country. But then there's been a few people recording TikToks and things of them burning their conscription note with their name on, not half burnt already. Not burnt yet, and then lighten it. There's your name, mate. Yeah. There's you, who you are. I wouldn't. I mean, you've seen them protest in the streets, and the police come along, and you disappear for a bit.
Here's a controversial one for you. So you're struggling in terms of food in your country. So just lose a couple of 100,000 people through a war, and you're all right for a few years.
Well, there was something to be said about that the other day. That obviously their economy is going to tank at some point because they've spent all of their reserve cash to try and keep. They've been buying their own currency. They've been using their foreign reserves of dollars to buy their own rubles to keep the value of the ruble high. And there've been all these other things going on financially in the background, and they're running a deficit. Then of course they're not going to be able to pay for public services. And important things, and of course they don't make anything. They're a resource-rich country, but they don't make anything. They buy in various foods, products, luxury goods. All of that stuff comes in. I mean, they make larders and stuff, but who buys them? I mean, you've seen some of their technology, and most of the even the stuff that they build requires Western electronics or Taiwanese electronics.
I got mixed up there. I had a vision of a pantry there when you said larder.
Larder. A larder, the larder reaver.
Took me 10 seconds to register. Oh shit, he's trying to run a car.
That didn't even cross my mind in that moment. Now, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So they don't make much, but they do. They are a very resource rich. It's just where their money comes from. They dig stuff out of the ground or pipe it somewhere. They get paid for it, and they use that money to buy in all the stuff that they don't do. And of course now there's a ton of sanctions, so they don't get any microchips anymore. They don't get any of that Taiwanese stuff. They don't get any of the American stuff. They don't get anything from anywhere else. And nobody's buying their resource anymore. So we're weaning ourselves off that gas and oil. So nobody's buying that. And they've even said that if we do buy it from you, we will pay no more than is it $50? And of course that's tanked. It's now in the 40s. So because no one's buying it. None of the insurance companies that insure the tankers will insure a Russian tanker. So now they can't ship it anywhere. So nobody can buy it. Nobody can send it out because, like Lloyd's of London, the big company that insures the ships on the seas. So if they lose anything overboard or sinks, all of that, they won't insure them. Nobody will insure them. So they're bigging up themselves, but all I can see is like impending doom. At some point they're going to crash, and look at how many times that country has crashed and rebranded itself something else. If you look back in history, I didn't realise how many times it was. How many times that it's completely collapsed. And this is how, places like Estonia and Ukraine and whatnot broke away in the first place, because of the crashes back in the 90s.
Well, yeah, and we'll be sitting here in a couple of years' time, and it'll all be gone, and it'll be something else. We'll be talking about something else because that's the new topic, and I just find it disheartening, that these innocent people are being flipping basically butchered on two countries.
And nothing boosts an economy like having to manufacture weapons, right?
Yeah. Good point as well.
I've seen that argument made a couple of times that war's a business. Like, look at how much money you make from it, and so when things are lagging, just go pick a fight.
Yeah.
Then we need to manufacture a bunch of stuff, which means we need to create alloys. We need to mine stuff out of the ground. We need to, there's a whole chain of events that apply to all that. It gets jobs and all that. Oh, it gets everything going.
Well,
Christ, have we not come up with a better way of doing that yet?
Don't worry. All of these sort of politicians and famous people are going to help sort of Ukraine. The latest one I heard about is Justin Timberlake's announced he'll be joining the Ukraine war. Early reports suggest he'll be stationed somewhere along the Crimea River.
Nah.
That's one of his songs for those that don't know.
Yeah. That applies to Bublé.
Yeah.
As well, I love a bit of Bublé though.
Yeah. No one should have been surprised when the Russians invaded Ukraine. There was red flags everywhere.
That's a good one.
Wasn't a bad one, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Actually, it wasn't that bad. It's when you perceive something as a subject you won't enjoy. It actually was all right. Didn't mind it. So if I was going to get you outside your comfort zone in a subject, what would it be? Sexual tension or something like that?
Yeah. I've been avoiding having an autism episode. I know you want to talk about it. It took me ages to email you a copy of my assessment.
Yeah.
And I just found that the weekend I sent you, it was when I went, I've been unconsciously doing that on purpose, not sending you it.
Here's a
because it's
yeah.
It's a big topic, and I in no way, like I never have, don't want anyone's pity or for anyone to have to cope with things or to see me in a certain way. All of that. I've done a lot of hard work, so I'm kind of. On the one hand, I want to explain and add clarity to some things, and there are plenty things that the general public don't know about how it actually works and how it differs between childhood and adulthood and how it presents itself. And there's plenty going on in the news at the minute about ADHD, which is part of the spectrum. There's about 9,000 celebrities have come out saying, I've just been diagnosed. When you see an absolute run on a certain thing, you start thinking, isn't that too many?
Well,
isn't that too many? I mean, the DSM, the diagnostic manual gets updated all the time. So, I mean...
Yeah. I would say, from my perspective to you, Simon, is it's your subject. You should own it and be proud of it.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I never want it to seem, which is why I took offence when you called it a crutch. I never want this to seem like I'm ever using it as an excuse, because I never have.
I do.
I try my best not to. Sometimes it might come across that way, I suppose, when I say, well, look, it's because my brain works like that. But for me, That is literally just an explanation of a truth.
No, I get you.
I'm not. So I'm offering, it's like I always used to say to you, I'm offering you a reason, not an excuse. I would never excuse myself from something I've done or done wrong. I would never apologise for it either. But I would say, well, this is why I believe that happened.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just, again, I apologise for but I just know myself that on a lot of occasions recently, I recognise that not spelling or I just make an excuse not to try.
Do you know, I was going to bring that up because I thought I didn't realise how deep your dyslexia went. And I've only really just started to notice in us texting a lot more often, swapping stuff a lot more often. What?
No, I'm laughing because you're right. When I got miffed off last week and I said you can only say one word, that was just me. Exact example of how my brain functions that way.
Yeah, and I've only recently started to pick up.
Yeah.
Because some things I would just I don't know, disregard them, but then I've started to really pay attention. Hold on a minute. Like, does it run deeper than I actually think? And I've started paying attention, and it does. But then it's left me with the question that you're in your 50s, and there are a few little bits here I think you could have solved.
Oh, 100%.
Like competence, because I have friends that have family members with those difficulties, and I've seen what they've gone through to sort of compensate and to add things into their life the way they when they're going off to do, I don't know, degrees and things and whatever else, going into certain jobs. They've built strategies. Like one person learning medical things. It's difficult for them because it's also a learning disability as well, right? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to help them learn something as complex as medical procedures, they sketch them.
Yeah.
They've got a sketchbook out, and to get it right in their head, they draw the surgery, they draw the organ that they're working on, they draw then they write down the notes of the process, and then it goes in. And they sometimes get, why do you carry that notebook around with you? And then you look at it and say, well, look, I'm dyslexic. And this helps me. This is my coping strategy.
Yeah,
because made fun of for carrying this notebook everywhere. You write everything down. You write everything. Yeah, well, there's a pretty good reason why.
My main worry about it is, Simon, is that Robin's diagnosed as dyslexia as well. Dyslexic. I can't even get the term right. And I'm just worried that the way I deal with it is passing on the acceptance to make it an excuse. And because she's with us at the minute, I realise I'm enforcing her allowance to make excuses for her ability or her drive or whatever you want to call it, and I need to stop it.
So you need to stop it's because.
Yeah, I need to stop that.
I can't. I cannot do that. Can you though, or can you just do it in a different way?
Yeah. Different strategies for different. This is what we built our careers on. Finding different strategies to get around problems.
There's the irony.
Yeah.
There's the irony. It's one of the things that you are absolutely brilliant at. So, if anybody could find a way of building, or of either fixing it as much as you can and building it into your life in a way that actually, I don't really notice it's there anymore. Yeah. If anybody could do that, especially for someone else. It's you.
Yeah,
you've done stuff like that for me. I know you have. I'm not the person I was when I first met you.
And interesting that though is, we're great with other people, but when it comes to ourselves,
I know. Isn't that how all of this started?
Yeah.
We just started coaching each other, saying, "Well, a coach needs a coach."
Yeah. So
we started just pouring stuff out, and I give you the logical. Sort of, well, maybe it's this and that, and you try and help me with the emotional. Oh, well, have you thought that probably came across? Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
So I hope I haven't covered the episode.
yeah, we'll have to. So I've been avoiding.
Yeah.
In short, I've been kind of avoiding. I don't know where to start, what to say, what to cover, and in no way want any of it to sound like I'm excusing myself. So I feel like I need to talk about it so that people know the goings on of it. But at the same time, I'm like, yes, but do not, whatever you do, compensate for it, because I already do. You don't need to. This is my thing. It's not for you to do. I've spent 40 odd years sorting that out, and most of it shouldn't show up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I know I'm fidgety because I'm touching my face all the time, so I'm a little bit worked up about it. So I don't really know how to. I'm not sure how we would do the episode. If we could work that out, then maybe's I will. Maybe that's the only piece that's missing.
I'm only going to say one thing on it, because I think you will overthink the subject far too much. We should just do it.
Perhaps. I've tried running through my head, and what would I include, what would I not include, what things still bug me about it, what's the difference between when I was younger and older.
So next,
should I just do the process of the diagnosis? Should I just do that? Or
so next week,
pick out some examples?
Next week's episode is about crocheting, but actually, it's not. We're going to catch him out.
It's knitting. Pubic wigs.
Anyway, that was actually quite enjoyable.
It wasn't all that bad, was it?
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
And what I've discovered is, you actually we think quite alike.
Yeah.
But the way we've covered what we've covered and what we've put it and tried to dig into, others would describe us as conspiracy theorists or not patriotic. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to figure out, like, these things, we don't know how governments work. There's got to be stuff underneath all this that's driving this stuff to happen. Like, why do wars still happen?
David Icke.
Why are we not David Icke? Yeah, bit of a nutter back in the day, wasn't
Yeah, but he had some points, you know.
Yeah, this is the daft thing. I've seen some of his stuff since. Like, he was right about that.
Yeah. Apart from
he's not right about the lizards, though.
Being the son of God, you know, we'll put that to one side.
Yeah, and all of the monarchy being lizards.
Yeah.
Wearing human skins, and that, he took it a bit far. I think, do you know what? If he'd left some of those bits out, if he'd self-edited, you might still be about and listen to. You might be able to slip those lizard bits into the book somewhere. Just like this theory on lizards. So, we've got a guest coming up in the last episode of April, so it'll be, 28th? We'll be recording that, so that means it'll be out that following Monday. So it'll be like the beginning of May. We have someone we've both worked with, coached with, and all of that. So, and the subject, though, I'm going to leave that as a surprise because it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we make great plans, and let's hope it comes off. Very excited. And then we've also, as you mentioned last week,
it's in the diary.
We've got the live episode coming up in the next few weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, so we need to pick a date for that, and time wise, maybe it's in the maybe something like maybe it's an evening, something like that, to try and cover some time zones. I mean, it records and it can be watched back anyway, but I don't know. We need to flesh it out.
Yeah.
We need to flesh it out, but it's coming, and it's coming in April. So, guest in April, live in April. Yeah, interesting stuff. So until then, all the clicky bits, the subscribes, the follows, the notification bells, and leave a review. We're getting a few more comments, which is great. Need to chuck some more in. Beyond that, we'll see you next week. Yeah, take care.